CricketSong with Lunar Wisdom, and today's video is inspired by a friend of mine who sent me a message and was talking about death and had some questions about death and my thoughts. And I'm just going to read the questions and then answer them. She begins by saying, if we reincarnate, how is it possible we can still contact people from beyond years later? Can we actually do that? If we commit suicide, wouldn't it be risky to stay stuck in between worlds? There are many suicides committed on railways, which is very violent. Wouldn't that mean that this person would get stuck? Could we contact our pets once they're gone? And then she goes on to talk about near-death experiences. She says, isn't it strange that so many people see different things once they cross the worlds? Would it be that we all see what we believe in? Then, would it be possible once we die that we could all experience a different reality depending on our beliefs? For example, Christians would get judged, others would be reincarnated, and things of that sort. Now understand that as I go into my thoughts here, these are my thoughts, my feelings, and my perceptions of the death experience. I am not claiming by any means that my beliefs are the one true belief in regards to death. I understand, and I know she was asking me some of these questions because I have been able to contact, or I act as a medium. So that's why she was asking about people when they die. So my feeling is this. Death is a process. It is not you die, you die here and boom, you're done. I truly believe that it's a process that we go through. Just as birth is a process, death is a process as well. Because my feeling is, when we are conceived and then we grow in our mother's womb, it takes 9 to 10 months, or sometimes shorter, and then we actually are born. My feeling is death is very similar, because it makes no sense to me that birth would be a process and death is just bam, done. So I feel like death is also a process. It's a transitioning from this physical plane of existence to another plane of existence, just as birth is birth into this existence from another. So as we are dying, our physical death occurs, and then our spirit, or our essence, our soul, the part of I that is processed and transitions into the next life. And while this transition is occurring, I feel like that is when we are able to make contact with newly physically dead individuals. I also feel that sometimes when we contact those who have died, we aren't really, especially if there's a long time between their death and when we're getting information, I feel like we're not specifically talking to that individual. For example, my grandmother died in 2004. 2003. It was after the birth of my daughter. My daughter was born in 2002. So my grandmother died 2003, 2004. It's now 2013. If and when I make contact with her, it is in a different form. Do I believe she reincarnated? I believe it's possible. I also believe that we have a choice as to whether we want to reincarnate into another physical being on earth, or whether we want to have a different experience. So my feeling is that not everybody reincarnates, at least that's my feeling. I do feel the majority of individuals do reincarnate, but not everybody. So if my grandmother had reincarnated, she probably would be living another physical life. but I would still be able to contact her, because I feel like sometimes when we contact individuals who have years between when they just died to when we make contact, we're actually contacting their higher selves and not necessarily the part of them that is still waiting to transition. So if you're a Wiccan, you may believe in Summerland, where my grandmother would have gone to sort of look over her life experience and decide whether she's going to reincarnate, and Summerland would be where she's sitting waiting for the right vortex or portal to open that would coincide with the experience she wants to have again, and then she would enter the portal and be conceived by a man and a woman during their lovemaking session, looking to give birth. So if she's already either incubating in a mother or she has been born, there is a portion of my grandmother, her higher self, that is still able to make contact with me and others. Because our higher selves are that part of us that is always sort of available for communication. That's the part of us that we can communicate with. So I feel like sometimes that is what we're making contact with, and we're receiving information from the higher self of someone who has already reincarnated. If they have chosen not to reincarnate, then they're sitting there and they're available to discuss and talk with us. So I do believe we can actually talk to individuals that have died years ago and we are still able to make contact. I do feel like, though, that there are sometimes, say my grandmother had died, had chosen not to reincarnate, and she had decided to connect back with the source, the universal source, or the all. I feel like sometimes that may be when we have difficulty, we're at a situation where we want to make contact with grandma, but grandma is unavailable at this time, because I feel like that essence, that personality that we know as grandma, has moved on to the next phase and has transitioned back to the all. And the essence that we knew as grandma is no longer a cohesive essence, and she's sort of blended with the all. And the information we would receive then would be from deity and not necessarily the entity that I knew as grandma. If we commit suicide, would it be risky to stay stuck between the worlds? And here's the other thought process that, remember I said death is a transition? I feel like it's very difficult for us to put a time frame on this transition. I feel like for some people the transition takes longer than others. And I feel like the situation that this was, if someone committed suicide on a railway, the very violent death, the transition may take longer. Although because that is a suicide and someone intended to end their physical life, surprisingly enough, their transition might be very quick. I feel like when someone kills another, when someone is murdered or is sort of died unexpectedly, at least to us, or perhaps even not, they've sent out an intention for their experience to end, but that was an unconscious intention, and their conscious intention, it was not to die. Those transitions may take longer because there was a misalignment between their true intention and their physical intention, and they may need some time to transition through this. I do feel like people or individuals, personalities, energies may take more time when they transition because there's things that they haven't, they're sort of unfinished business. Perhaps their messages and things that they want to get across to those still in the physical and may sort of hang around until these things are worked out. Or perhaps they just, the part of them that wants to stay in the physical is stronger than the part of them that wants to transition. And I think sometimes we come across those as well. Excuse me. Could we contact our pets once they've died? I do feel like we are able to contact our pets. But understand, because the energy vibration, the frequency of a pet is different than a frequency of a human being would be. The way that they come through or the way that they contact us may be different. But you know your pet, and you've established a relationship with that pet when they were on the physical realm. So my feeling is you would recognize their energy frequency over me contacting, your pet. I feel like because we are more intimate with our pets when they're alive, that it would be easier for them to get through to you than to me. But I do believe we are able to contact our pets. Now, in regards to the near-death experiences, she asked, is it strange that so many people experience so many things? Would it be possible once we die that we could all experience a different reality depending on our belief? That's exactly how I feel. I do feel like that as we create our physical world that we experience, we also create the world and the experience of death. I feel like the death experience depends on your beliefs and your understandings and your knowledge and your wisdom and your own experience. That if you were brought up with certain beliefs your whole entire physical life, you create that experience for you through death as well. So I feel like some people would experience death in a much different way than you would. That it is going to be a very personal experience, and if you feel you're going to be judged at death, then I feel like that's what you're going to experience, a judging. If you feel like you're not going to be judged, that you're going to experience something different, that is what you're going to experience as well. Because death is a transition. It's going from the physical to the non-physical. And like I said, just as the birth process is a transition, it's a death process as well. You're not just, I don't feel like we're just going to be, okay, your physical life is done, bam, now you're spiritual. I feel like you're going to go through some sort of experience and transition. I'm losing my voice. So that's my thoughts and notions and understandings and beliefs in regards to death. If you have any other questions, please contact me. Feel free to leave comments and your own personal insights in the comment section below. And as always, I love you.